about to come to a close, and this is the match that decides it all. Who is going to win 30,000 vials? Who is going to go home second?
That's right. 30,000 vials and a sweet flare that says weekly champion. Don't.
You'll be the only one in Southeast Asia to have that.
That's right. That's true. You'll be the only one, at least for this month. We're going to have 3 total, I believe, over the course of the season. It's going to be a while
before somebody else can catch up to you.
That's right. That's right. So for an entire month, only you.
And if you go next month and you win it again, you're still the only one that has it.
And if you do it 3 times in a row, nobody else in your region can even touch you.
No
more bragging rights.
How could you keep everybody from that flare?
Because you're just that type of person.
You should do it.
So, when we look at the bans, Neutral Bloodcraft does actually hit the ban. Forestcraft does hit the ban. So we are going to see the Dragoncraft decks go up.
Yes.
And we do get to see a Daria mirror match to start things off. This is all the things that we wanted to see in the finals.
What is the thought process that goes behind that?
Honestly, I think they've just been, watching each other's games and just showing the consistency of what their, each of their respective decks do. And I think they just feel more comfortable going into what I want to say is just a mirror match, like Dragon vs. Dragon. I feel like each player feels like they have an edge in that matchup. But they might just be scared, too. I mean, they're both playing their Daria decks first, not their Dragon decks. In my opinion, Dragoncraft is pretty good against Daria. Just at face value. Why wouldn't you lead with this if you think your opponent's going to lead with Daria? So this is kind of the thing that I was talking about with, I think the players are playing at a relatively high skill level. I think their ban decisions, because they're not used to this format maybe, is hurting them a little bit as we go through this tournament.
Interesting. Well, there's certainly, as Igni mentioned, room for the region to grow and play. And seeing these players take their step out and kind of take their slash and hack at the competition has been very enlightening and very interesting for us.
If nothing else, this will breed so many new ideas for this coming week for basically everyone to build their own decks around. Like, if you weren't thinking about Daria, you definitely are after this week.
Yes.
I mean, you see the power level of it. If you weren't thinking about playing infinite Kawis and Zeuses, you're definitely at least thinking about it now. Just a lot of cool stuff.
Interesting.
Takes the value trade. Leaves the board. No Daria in hand right now and trying to do its best impression by valuing out. But on Dreamlife's side, he's able to kind of boost down some Chimeras. He's got 2 Chimeras at 0 cost already at turn 5.
Yeah, this is insanity. This is almost better than a Daria, in my opinion, early in the game. You don't have to redraw your... I mean, you don't get the redrawed hand, but you get to clear out your enemy's entire field while producing a board protected by a ward.
Yep.
And 2 Fiery Embraces in hand for Glow is not what you want to see.
Yep. So 1 Evolution Orb remaining has at least, what, 8, 10, 12 damage on the backswing?
Yeah.
I imagine you would... Okay, there's not enough spell boost for that.
Yeah, he's just got to make very straightforward option play here. Next turn, he can do a lot of work. However, he's going to suffer a lot of damage here, up to 10.
Oh, man, that was probably the perfect... Oh, wow.
Daria redraw into a Clark. Pretty good stuff. Yeah, I think this is just going to be an Evo face here.
I definitely think you need to, especially considering the cards in your hand.
You're not going to be able to produce a board after this, essentially, until that Daria comes down. And you need to get that damage in. Honestly, you can save it because you're playing Blade Mages. Blade Mages will almost always give you value off your evolution. However, I like just going for it.
Yep. And we know by watching Glow's hand that even when he dumps all these spells, there's actually not anything he's boosting that's significant, which is going to hurt him. Because once you drop all your spells and you haven't been boosting anything, there's no future, right?
Right. Yeah, you're not boosting anything. You're not producing any tempo to the board. You're not advancing your way to win the game. You're just trying to prevent your opponent from beating.
Really, the downfall of Daria is when you're just top-decking options one by one.
He traded. Interesting. Maybe just to keep the owl around. Higher chance anyway. But as we know, that's a huge mistake. Plenty of removal in the hand of Glow now to finish off this board. And not dealing that 6 points of damage, I feel, puts Glow right back into the game. The Daria, though, however, is the big deciding factor now.
Interesting in terms of like a value for your spells. I would put Wind Blast at a lower value than Fiery Embrace.
Yeah,
I would have used the Wind Blast.
I think so. Zero cost a little bit better as well, just for tempo-oriented plays, especially if you draw into something like a Daria.
Yeah.
Makes it a little bit quicker.
Wow, he just Daria'd into the Daria, and this is going to be devastating, especially
with the mutagenic.
if Glow,
Yep.
Glow still hasn't been able to construct anything. Oh my god!
You know, back in the old days, Rise of Bahamut days, when you were playing the Daria matchup and your opponent played Daria and you were playing on ladder and you didn't have a Daria in your hand, that was an auto-concede. there's hardly any reason to finish that game off because you're just like, well, they just are doing more things than me. Too fast. Not good.
Back in my day.
Back in my day. Back when old man Levi, you know,
Yeah.
he was my mascot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's a lot of damage there.
Wow.
And a Wizardess of Oz. Yeah, this is pretty backbreaking. Glow needs to draw something like a Daria, but even at this point, it's probably a little too late.
I mean, I do think there's probably some explosive Daria hand that they can fall into, but this is continuing to not look great.
And if we think about it too, like we talk about Daria, I mean, Daria even last week on the NA side of things took home first place. You know what I mean? Daria is a known quantity, but it was only played by a select few. I think that's got to change over the course of this week. I think we're going to see a lot more Daria.
Blade Mage.
I guess the real question is, how do you make it more consistent? You know what I mean? Because it does have a very bricky nature to it. How do you make it to where it doesn't feel that way, like where it's a consistent tournament deck that you really feel comfortable behind?
Yeah.
That's going to be the big question to answer.
I think probably a Mystic Ring is part of the way there.
And Glow's just like, yeah, buddy.
Yeah. It felt like we were looking at a single-player game.
Yeah. One person had everything going for them. Glow, unfortunately, had removal. And that's about it.
Yeah. That feels really bad. But Glow still has a reset. Has to play against the Dragoncraft deck, which is going to be rough. I think.
Yeah, having to win 2 games against Dragoncraft with any 2 decks is rough. Dragoncraft basically just has tools to beat anything at its disposal. Yeah, it's rough stuff.
I think you're really kind of hitting on a good point in terms of thinking about how to make Daria more consistent. I think there's been a few attempts at it, but I don't really know because you really have to look at what the spell boost options are. You know, how do you make sure you get something useful and playable? I guess maybe really the big thing is kind of refilling your hand with a significant amount of cards to make sure that even if you play out your options, it's not like you're getting a Daria that has nothing to support it with.
Right. And I think the thing that we've been seeing more often than not is these Daria redraws. If they don't redraw into a Daria, I mean, they're just okay cards, right? Like you get Magic Missile here, you get Mysterian Knowledge there. They're not bad cards, but it's not like the Daria of old where everything in your hand was just like, okay, all right, I've got the business, and then you just go crazy.
And I suppose that's kind of why a lot of people are looking towards concentration. But it's just a little more clunky compared to something like Fate's Hand, right? Because Fate's Hand boosts itself to that point where you can redraw and still play options.
What you guys can do is play Giant Chimera, and you don't have to worry about the bricky nature of Daria. You just play removal the entire time, Fire Embraces, Wind Blast, and all that kind of stuff.
You're more willing to play cards to board.
Yeah. And you get to play Nova Flare, which I think is one of the best, most underused cards in this current format. It does all of the things that you'd want it to do, all in the package for 4 play points. I love it. I don't know.
Giant Chimera.
I'm going to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
Because I love it.
Talk about it.
All right, so let's see if Glow can manage to find some ramp. It looks like Dreamlife is already on that plan.
This might be topsy-turvy. This time, Dreamlife is on the play, and he gets the Oracle. And he has draw. It's going to put him into a position to play the Sybil on the next turn and start to find more options to utilize once he gets to the high play point turns.
That's right, so Glow does have his tilting, but definitely can't ramp to it, and definitely doesn't have the end game yet.
And we already see Azidahaka plus area in hand for Dreamlife. The question is, can Dreamlife get into a scenario where he pushes damage? This Scyther, by the way, is actually really annoying.
Yeah, I think the followers that Glow has actually put into play, opting to play the Aiello early, followed by the Scyther, which is not what we've seen in these Dragon matchups earlier, just puts Dreamlife into a position where it's like, oh crap, I might actually just start taking a ton of damage from these. He doesn't really have a good play here.
But here's the thing, right? As we said in the first time Glow and Dreamlife played against each other, sometimes it kind of doesn't matter because you just want to race to your combo, right?
It's true. In that scenario, I don't know why Sybil was played for literally no value last turn on the side of Dreamlife. Generally speaking, you just pass that turn and you suck it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just got to sometimes.
Yep.
And now, no play on 6 is way worse.
And the ramp.
Yeah, and now Glow finally finding his ramp here. I like this. He doesn't have a very strong end game, but he has a way to just power through with this tilting. He just has to start top decking his end game threats pretty soon here. But he's got Scythers to kind of stop some of the damage here for a while.
So really, it's just, in the next few turns, what is Glow going to find?
Yep, I think Saw Quill is the best option here. Got to clear off a bunch of this board here. You're already at 10. Very unsafe. Honestly speaking, just with these two Scythers, we're already looking at 6 more damage. So honestly, Glow just has to find another threat here.
Yeah. Tilting at windmills, already in hand, and definitely an opportunity to just drop it here.
I think you just do. I think even before drawing cards.
Drawing into drawing.
This works too. Now he's got the Zeus in hand, and he can just start pressuring the end game. Just Zeus followed by double Scyther can win the game.
The Canyon is put down, and this is the big danger that we were talking about, right? This Canyon is just going to continue to put value, and there's nothing you can do about that. And that is pretty bricky to find that second windmill.
Pretty bricky. I don't know why he decided to go with the windmill this turn. I guess, you know, Bahamut Evolve is actually just game, so never mind. This is the same thing as doing a 2-turn lethal, just in a very different way.
Uh-oh.
But there is healing that kind of stops that plan, so.
And we've got Dreadsea, Area, and Dahaka. Definitely needs to play the Bahamut this turn.
Yep. Bahamut will come out. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So if this is the new hotness, what Igni was talking about, tilting plus Bahamut, I can see why it's so scary.
Yeah, and there goes the Bahamut. Fine, we're probably going to remove it anyways. Man, and even the Zeus doesn't help because it blows away the ward.
And that's just another... Okay, never mind. Never mind. You know what? Tilting at windmills might just be better than Canyon of Dragons, specifically in the mirror matchup. It just makes the deck so much faster.
Without a way to deal with the windmills, it's very hard to stop the constant pressure that comes down.
So even with how that game started off, Glow still managed to just crush it, you know? Didn't have the necessary, like, crazy ramp that you'd expect. He just went a little bit aggressive and had his tilting and just finished off the game.
What's interesting is that I mean, there were a few factors, right? Not being able to rush the Zeus in time, not being able to do any face damage, because Dreamlife actually had a combo in his hand as well. But he just couldn't do that extra little bit of damage. The Haka plus Ariette is not
That's true.
as strong.
It can deal up to 16 damage, but you've got to get there. You've got to have your Evolution Orb left.
If he was able to find one more step of ramp, he could have played a Zeus, then he could have played the, the combo and just close the game out. But
all right, and here we go. Can Daria beat Dragon? That is the question.
oh, there it is. We'll see if he can draw into more. He needs slightly more ramp than that. Okay.
All right, we got some oracles. We got Daria in opening hand. Both players have exactly what they need to start this game off with.
Oh, Blazing Breath is actually so good with respect to kind of making the curve feel comfortable and getting that extra bit of damage to make things like your, Breath of the Salamanders have the extra little bit of reach that you need,
And also just being able to play on curve and being able to deal with your opponent's threats never feels bad.
There it is. This is that combo with Salamander plus the Blazing Breath.
And I think we're just going to see Glow for the fastest possible Daria he has. Yet another game where we're going to see a super fast Daria.
And again, talking about the health levels now, Salamander has it a little nicer than some other options in that it can remove the Daria. But with followers that are, 4 defense on the Oglers or even higher if you kind of evolve like an Owl or something like that, they avoid the Breath of the Salamander,
It's true. The crazy thing that Dreamlife did here, though, using the Breath of the Salamander on 5 play points instead of saving it for a board wipe against Daria might actually cost him a game here. That's a very scary move to make against a Daria player.
Glow is ecstatic.
He's still no match for Mr. Dragon.
Gonna ramp twice here.
There's a lot more where that
Yes, this feels good.
He won't let you
And
hurt
it
Mr.
really
Dragon.
comes down to, there's just one turn in between this and a Bahamut, and this is going to be a big turn for Glow. How many Blade Mages is going to hit?
I really don't like these Evolution Orbs going on the Magic Owls now, just because they aren't getting damage done. Now, I think he's trying
And if
to
you
play
play
this
the
grind.
Daria, you just lose all the boosts you got on the Chimera.
Right,
And if you don't play Daria, you just wait until the Bahamut turn.
right. There's very interesting lines of play here. Does have an end game set up here, but it's going to have to get as much damage as possible next turn. And this is kind of what I was talking about with the Breath of the Salamander. If Breath of the Salamander wasn't used, then he could have cleared board with the followers that he had in play, and Breath of the Salamander would have come out here to actually fully clear out this board instead of just mostly clear out this board.
Fragile dreams.
He's still no match for Mr. Dragon. I lost? Yeah.
However, I think with that Bahamut in hand, Dreamlife is in a pretty good spot now.
Gets the next Blade Mage too.
Again, doesn't use the Evolution Orb to save more defense here.
Anything he plays to the board is going to be tough, and I think Glow is thinking about that right now, right? Because he could just get blown out.
Yeah, he's got to play around Bahamut at the moment. And what I mean by that is just not overextend.
It's going to be really tough. I mean, what other options do you have? If you don't overextend, you just don't play the game.
I guess
right?
that's fair. That's fair. I mean, the problem I see here is that, like, what is it? What happens if Bahamut does hit play, right? If I at least keep some bigger followers in my hand, I can prevent that Bahamut attacking me to like end the game immediately. But if I overextend and play everything, I just don't have anything left.
I agree. Plus, the Zeus to follow it up means that there's going to be a very painful turn coming up.
Yeah.
If there's no removal, and oh boy, what can you really put together here?
I mean, 2 Chimeras already down.
Oh wow. I think that might be too little, too late. Puts the Blade Mage down, and you have to Sweet Face. There's no way you're throwing that into the Bahamut.
Yep. That was a great draw.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
doesn't even care about it. Says, you know what? I'm not going to even use that Sakwa value.
Gonna refill hand and heal up here. Drop the Zeus.
It's a clear board, most likely. Might get the 5 damage in face.
Ready to witness my cruise
Gonna get 9.
Okay. This works too.
Unfortunate soul.
Or maybe
Yeah,
could
even
get
go all the
14.
way.
Yeah.
Probably will.
Why not?
Probably
Why
will.
not? Glow is put in a very, very bad spot here. I guess you may as... Yeah.
Yeah. Prayer, but with no play points left over, there's nothing that you can actually spell boost into to take care of this board, unfortunately.
Oh, man. And it's the Fiery Embrace as well. And that's it. Glow actually takes the loss here.
bad.
And the bracket reset happens. This is kind of what we're talking about, right?
Woo! You got the
And he didn't even have to go through the neutral blood list, which means that Dream Life, and we're going to have to kind of reset the scenario now. Do they ban Dragon?
I'm still going to go with yes. I mean, look at what Dragon does, right? It just does more powerful things than most of the other decks. And none of these decks are actually well suited to beat Dragon. That's the biggest thing I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So you can build decks that beat Dragon. It's not this unbeatable monster that you can't do anything about. It's just their lineups don't have anything that do it. Maybe the only thing that does is their version of Dragoncraft, right? So,
Igni, how why did we not see neutral?
Ban Dragon! Ban Dragon! Do it, please!
What's the most interesting to me is I think that in many ways, if you let the Dragoncraft game through, you allow yourself such a large margin of kind of unmitigatable scenarios.
Yeah.
Right? If you ban Dragon, at least you can figure out a way to kind of play out the game scenario. But if you let Dragon through, you're kind of leaving your fate to the hands of whatever powerful cards come in whichever order. You know?
Right.
Dragging up the good hand, you just sort of you sit there and you take it, and then you lose, and you're like, all right then.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And like I said, like you can beat Dragoncraft, but when you look at these players' lineups, they did not bring decks that beat Dragoncraft. So in that scenario, take it out, just play your regular games, you know what I mean? Versus more fair decks, I'll say, because they're not cheating all these crazy things into play, especially with tilting at windmills, which will literally close the door in an instant. I've been away all week since the changes have happened. I didn't know this tilting at windmills thing was as good as it
It's a combination of
is.
the removal, right? Because essentially Bahamut is doing X amount of damage to every single follower on the board, plus the 9 on top of that.
Yeah.
You know? And like I mentioned to you when we were talking about it earlier in the day today, you know, in the game of Shadowverse right now, followers do not last long, right? So the fact that the follower is gone, of course you're not spending the resources to do that, but you're not in an unfamiliar scenario in terms of like, oh, I was really expecting that follower. There's a lot of value to have this follower survive again and again and again and again, because realistically, that just doesn't happen. So the downside of it is, great, lost the follower on board, but I got more than my value is worth by hitting you for 9, right? I can just do that again. And then do that again. Maybe even hit you for 10 this time with the Israfil. Maybe hit you with the Dreadsea combo.
So the real question, Igni, nerf or not tilting at windmills? Go.
I think people are... They haven't figured out how exactly to build their decks to go against it yet. I think we need to see how the meta shakes out in a couple weeks. It's like too early to say. I think it can be countered, but people are unhappy that they have to play against it at all.
I agree. I think anything's beatable.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, for just, you know, what you've been seeing so far. What about you, Randy?
I would like to see... I'm always somebody who never likes to assume. I've seen too many times in my life, in gaming, and in competitive gaming especially, where players assume and they destroy themselves. They destroy their careers, too. So never assume and always keep playing. It is not, and here's something before we jump into the game, which is starting out really soon. It is not the competitive player's job to decide balance. It is their job to win.
Thank you. Couldn't have said it better myself. That's kind of why I posed the question. I feel like any challenge is beatable within the frame of the game. And realistically, if you can come up with a logical reason where it's like, okay, this deck cannot be beaten. And that has happened in the past. We've come across a few of those decks. I'm not going to name those cards or those decks, but those get fixed pretty shortly. You know what I mean? In fairly quick order. Most of the time, it's just overblown, right? It's just too much hype. It's like, oh my god, this is crazy. I can't figure out how to beat it, so it must be the most devastating thing that's ever happened. But as we know, that's not the case. And as you said, as a competitor, it's your job to win, not to balance.
Well, with that, Igni, we're about to jump into the grand finals. The final match here. It's going to end at this point. We'll recollect our thoughts as we percolate on those ideas.
That's right.
And
Percolate.
Dream Life, yes, percolate. Percolate. Dream Life versus the champion.
Yeah.
The best, Glow. Who got taken down just a little bit. I mean, his tilting at windmills deck still performed fantastically.
Right.
He didn't even get such a bad Daria curve, but it was interesting. The ramp really kicked into high gear, I think, for Dream Life in that game. So
just got an update. Both of the Dragoncraft decks did get banned for the finals. Okay, so what we expected. So Dreamlife got kind of a leg up getting into the finals with this Dragoncraft deck. Now they're both banned. Now we get to see what happens when their other two decks that are actually meant to, you know, beat regular decks and not Dragoncraft decks actually perform against each other. I think this is going to be a very straightforward match. I think just a tight play and better play is going to win this one.
I agree. And this is really what we kind of posited and thought that we were going to see earlier on is neutral blood. What is it going to do in this scenario, right? And now we're going to get to see that.
Yep.
So
that's right.
Down to one match now,
This
by
is
the
it.
way. So the thing that I was talking about with neutral blood and having that option of just kind of blowing through the options in much the same way that tilting at windmills did, right?
Right.
In a very similar fashion, except on the other end of things, right? It might be able to do that.
I think Neutral Blood has a small edge, and that's all I'm going to say about this last matchup. That's it. I think the slight edge is there. I don't think it's enough to basically boil this matchup into, like, you know, a favorite or anything like that. I think, again, like I said, it's just going to come down to technical play. The person who wins this match deserves to win the tournament.
Yes,
that's it. They got here through tight technical play. Their Dragoncraft decks did get banned most of the way up here, so they didn't just get free wins all the time. So, honestly, now it's just better player. I want to see who wins.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, I think it is telling. You know, you use the tools available to you, and you use them as often as you can.
Yeah.
Right? And I think Glow to be at this stage in the tournament is actually, you know, emblematic of his willingness and ability to play those options and kind of make full use of them, right? I think he plays smartly around, again, the options that the decks provide. And that's kind of how we started the day, you know, watching the first match of the day even, seeing all these options that would reveal themselves after they set up the scenarios that it would enable them to win the game. And I think it's very fitting that the finals demonstrates this as well.
Yeah, and I really like the aggressive way that this region likes to play. So if you notice, like, a lot of our NA and EU games, a lot of board trading, a lot of grinding, a lot of just eking out every little small advantage as you possibly can. Whereas here in this region, it's just like, I'm going to push, and I know you can't push back hard enough, essentially, and I'm just going to kind of bowl you over. It's kind of like how all these games have been going in our Daria matchups. The only time we've seen it change a little bit is when they kind of did like a half and half play. Like, I'll kind of trade here, but I'm still going face. You know what I mean? There's never like this just hard trade game going back and forth. They're not trying to grind out the games. They're just trying to win with what they have.
Yeah.
And I like it. It's definitely a new, fresh way to play. It's definitely good to get different perspectives on how to play decks. I mean, especially when you look back at Fantasy playing Controlled Blood Mirror, you know, just winning on turn 7, unheard of in that type of a matchup. Sometimes you just need a fresh perspective on how to play certain decks, and it can kind of just make your game plan better. So those of you out there watching, learn a little bit from these players today.
Here we go. Dreamlife versus Glow. It's going to be Daria versus Forest.
Time for me to prove myself. Time to shine, Daria.
All right, let's see if Neutral, Wallet, Forestcraft has what it takes to beat Daria.
He does not want to see the Beast and Area combo.
Unfortunate. Okay, so again, both players have the cards that they want to eventually get to. We've got Daria in hand for Dreamlife. We've got Beauty and the Beast in hand for Glow, as well as Elf Twins Assault now in duplicate. Awesome card to have against Daria.
And talk about, I mean, we didn't really get to discuss this a lot after Staircase of Paradise was adjusted up to the 2 play point value. But look at how different this picture is, right? On this turn, he, in the old state of the game, would have had the Staircase and the Happy Pig out here. But now he's had to pick and choose, and his curve just does not feel good.
Yeah, Staircase has been a card that's been a lot harder for me to justify in decks. Like, I used to run it as like a 1 of or a 2 of, just as like an option in different decks, but the play point differential now from 1 to 2, I think, is massive. It's not as small as a lot of the other cards because it's not a card that actively does something in play.
Evolve Piggy. Do it.
Evolve to Piggy.
Done for.
Oh! Oh, so regal.
Time to go the whole
Yeah, that literally the best evolved picture in the game.
Yes.
No, unquestionably.
Yes. Magic Owl evolve. Double Daria is in hand, but we've seen players blow through that scenario as it stands in this tournament so far, right?
Yeah, and if we can keep that Happy Pig evolved art on the game for the rest of the game, I'd be more than happy with that.
Yeah. Happy Pig.
That
Ooh.
redraw was
Jeez.
great. Double Chimera and double Craig to just basically unload on
That
a
is an
given turn.
incredible amount of value.
And honestly, it doesn't even matter what Glow does this turn. Next turn is just going to be a huge handful for him to deal with.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting. We see this hand. We talked about the Jungle Warden in this neutral forest deck is something that we actually don't see quite that often. Now, Jungle Warden is another one of those cards that I think does have uses before its enhance effect. You know, I think there are other things that Forestcraft plays on 5. It's a pretty cluttered space typically, but it's good, right? A 4/5 ward is pretty stat beefy.
So it's kind of going along the theme of what we've seen in this region so far. Just one of tech cards that they just want to have options for in the game. Now, it's a little bit different when we consider a neutral package on top of it, because as we can see, he doesn't have a lot of neutral cards left in his hand, and it might hurt him over time if he keeps drawing more Forestcraft cards, whereas we've seen in Dreamlife's neutral blood deck that he's actually taken a lot of strain to go into more neutral heavy, not playing 3 Savage Wolves and things like that. So,
and I think Glow, I mean, currently his Elf Twin Assault is hitting for 2.
yeah, not quite as much as you'd want it to.
It might hit for 3 on the draw next turn. Which is still not going to be great, and that Staircase is going to be popping, but that means on his next turn he's going to be drawing.
Right.
So
Unfortunately, not this turn.
it's your Beauty and the Beast turn, but there's more than enough followers on board.
Yeah. I think Beauty and the Beast might still be the play here, just to try to tempt Dreamlife into trading with it.
I think you kind of have to.
I mean, you could go with the Treant here. The Treant is live. It does give you a ward play. And next turn you do have Saha Quill Israfil.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And you definitely want to... I think the big thing you're thinking about here is how do you preserve your neutral cards in hand. Okay, so Beauty and the Beast is basically shut off.
Yep.
It's going to be very difficult to play it.
So I think this followed by Elf Twins is the play. Yep. Just try to clear off as much of the board. Got a little unlucky there. Now this Chimera is going to come down to just allow Dreamlife to keep pushing face. Piercing Rune even.
Piercing Rune. I would just put the Chimera down as well.
I
know
would.
that
I would
you're
just
playing against
tempo
Beauty and the
play.
Beast.
Yeah.
That instant effect is not going to be very handy. Just put the damage on board. Elf Twin Assault only can take down 2 followers at a time.
Yep. Dreamlife
Glow.
sees the line.
Yeah. Glow is having trouble here.
Now Saha Israfil actually does a really good job of cleaning all of this board up except for 1 follower.
Yeah.
Which could turn the tide. I mean, this is all that Dreamlife had left.
Yeah, I think you have to swing with that on this turn. I think Happy Pig is an interesting card in this scenario because you need to figure out a way to destroy it to gain that healing. And so it's not the instantaneous effect that would pull you out of a scenario. And it's still a turn before you can actually drop that Israfil for, you know, the healing that would be very welcome right now.
That's right. So without any instant heal, there aren't any other removal options in hand either.
I think he's going to have to Pure Hearted.
He's either going to have to Pure Hearted. Yeah, the Staircase isn't going to pop until next turn, so this is really his only play. And Hector!
My God!
Whoo! Okay.
Oh my God! And now it's going to be up to a top deck on the side of Dreamlife, and even if Dreamlife pulls a Daria, it's not going to get him out of this scenario.
Nope. Daria not good enough on its own in a single turn.
Oh my God! Are
okay.
you serious?
Glow knows what just happened. Is smiling.
Oh my God! 0 cards in hand?
Top deck the Piercing Rune.
Oh my God!
Before it was almost guaranteed because Dance of Death was in the format and things like that. Now it's just...
I mean, Piercing Rune and Mutagenic Bolt.
Yeah, or possibly Chain Lightning if you're playing that in your deck as well. But like definitely a little bit more off-the-wall combinations to get that damage in. But Piercing Rune, getting the job done.
Yeah. Glow nearly ran away with it. He was so close to making out happy.
Glow is not going to be satisfied if he walks away from this tournament after being in the winner's bracket, getting reset, losing 2-0. This is not going to feel good. Neutral blood twice. pretty tough to beat. We talk about
Yeah.
Dragon. I feel like Neutral Blood is way easier than Dragon to beat.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you get a nice curve, if you get on the play, especially with this Neutral Blood deck, you can kind of just run away with the game.
Yeah. And Glow, I think it's going to have to make the consideration for what is he going to run as an answer, right? Do you rely on your Forest Craft deck? I mean, you have some beefy early turn followers. You have the Kindly Treant.
It's like he's going with the Forest Craft deck. Honestly speaking, I feel like Daria kind of just beats up on Neutral Blood anyway, just because it does things a little bit faster and better. So I think he's just like, you know what? I have to win with this deck anyway. I'm gonna throw it in there.
There's that one of Fairy Whisperer.
Still not sure why that's in the deck.
Yeah.
It's again another nod to a Forest Craft card being in the deck as opposed to another neutral card.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
Dreamlife did get on the play. Does have a really nice curve here, as Neutral Blood will. Played a lot of low drops.
There's only a few things to draw, and finally it's a Phantom Cat, which is probably the least favorable option given the matchup, I feel like.
Definitely. Will be one of those good, nice options. Finally drew one. We haven't seen him draw any. Now he's got two in hand.
Yeah. What this is going to mean is it's going to give Dreamlife a little bit more gas, you know, when it gets to that point, and quite a bit of face damage.
That's right. Unfortunately, because they don't come out for 2 turns.
Oh my god, pig on pig.
Yeah, pig on pig crimes.
Yeah, get the pig.
This is not good. Not good for pigs everywhere.
The greater pig comes out on top. 3-2 is better than 2-2.
Again, yet another Forest Craft card drawn. However, there are enough neutrals in hand for that Beauty and the Beast to be active in a few turns here.
So this means that 3 damage is going to come. Needs a 5 play point drop on Dreamlife's end to really continue pushing that damage through.
Don't push yourselves too hard. Are you unhappy?
Let's see what Dreamlife can draw here. Another
oh my
good draw.
god. And this is going to allow him to evolve face?
Yep. Looks like he's just going to go for value trades too.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if you're going to throw everything into a Beauty and the Beast, for example. And there's no good.
Ooh.
Wow.
This doesn't go with the Elf Twins Assault here. Interesting.
Yeah.
It won't be long now.
So this will allow for more damage to come through next turn, especially with the Phantom Cat.
It's going to go for the 3-3.
How much damage is this Phantom Cat going to deal? Is it going to deal 4?
4. It's going to deal 4.
Every time?
Yeah.
Every time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's 4 damage.
Uh-huh.
And that's an Evo over the ward and 4 more damage pushing to face here.
Yeah. And 3 targets remaining means that you have to continue to gamble the Elf Twin Assault.
Yep.
Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. More pigs
Wow.
to the rescue.
Did you... I would have... Okay. There is a world where you ETA first, right?
No, not with this board. I think this way just cleanly answers it.
Now
you want that pig to die.
Yeah, that's right, because you want the health.
All
All right. 1,
4 damage?
2.
Ooh.
Yeah,
But the Razor Claw drawn.
I'm real good at guessing this damage.
Razor Claws are just as good at damaging at the end game. So
Yeah.
definitely not losing anything.
Very dangerous. No evolution orbs as well, which means Beauty and the Beast is essentially conceding the game. Actually, there is no option left.
There's no options left.
There is no option left, and Glow knows it. Dreamlife is going to take...
Reset the bracket, win 2-0 against, you know what, Igni said it best, a greedy deck.
Neutral Blood makes the dream happen for Dreamlife, and he is going to take the victory on the first ever Southeast Asia and Oceania Shadowverse Open. And you know, honestly, when we take a look at the decks, right, the Tilting at the Windmills deck worked real well for Glow, but everything
really
else was going in favor of Dreamlife, and that Neutral Blood deck in the end, you were talking about it all week. Got to see firsthand why it's so powerful. Its early curve was there. The Baphomet continued to draw options that were